He dismissed her as nothing more than support staff with a sneer that froze the entire room. The same woman he'd ridiculed was now watching him through her scope from an impossible position on the mountain ledge. The obsidian raven ring on her finger caught the sunlight as she steadied her weapon. Only the most classified operatives wore that ring, soldiers so secret they had no official records. By the time he realized her true identity, she had already saved his entire unit, and he never saw her coming. From which city around the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about hidden heroes and shocking revelations, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us bring more untold military stories to light. Colonel Marcus Steele's helicopter descended onto forward operating base Phoenix through swirling dust in the crisp mountain air of a classified frontier zone. His reputation was legendary, distinguished, ruthless, and famously intolerant of anything short of perfection. "Welcome to Phoenix, Colonel," Major Eric Cross greeted him with military precision. "The squads are ready for your briefing." Inside the operations center, Steele surveyed the assembled personnel, mentally cataloging faces and ranks with practiced efficiency. His attention briefly stopped on a woman in the corner dressed in civilian clothes, operating communications equipment, no combat gear, no visible rank markers. "Complete roster, Major?" Steele inquired. "Yes, sir, including our logistics and communications support specialist." Maya nodded briefly, continuing her work without making eye contact. Something about her methodical precision struck Steele as unusual. She moved with an accuracy that seemed inconsistent with her support function. During the mission briefing, Steele outlined their objective: the monitoring insurgent activity through a narrow mountain corridor. Intelligence indicated a high-priority target would pass through within 72 hours. "We'll establish our primary observation post here," Steele indicated on the tactical map, pointing to a ridge offering clear sight lines to the valley below. "Sir," Maya spoke for the first time, her voice steady and controlled. "Weather analysis shows atmospheric conditions that could jeopardize that position. There's an alternative location here that provides comparable coverage with better shelter from the northern winds." The room went silent. Steele looked up slowly, his expression hardening. "Let's focus on tactical decisions from qualified combat personnel, not support staff," he said dismissively. "The primary position offers superior sight lines?" "Yes, sir," Maya responded, returning to her equipment without visible reaction. As the briefing ended, Steele caught a glimpse of something distinctive, a black metal ring on Maya's finger. As she adjusted some equipment, she noticed his stare and quickly concealed her hand. Later, as the sniper team deployed to the ridge Steele had chosen, Major Cross approached Maya in a quiet corner of the command center. "I served in Fallujah," he said quietly. "I know what that ring represents." Maya regarded him silently. "How many missions?" Cross asked. "Enough to know that ridge is exposed," she replied, avoiding his question directly. The weather changed faster than anticipated. Thick fog swept through the valley, surrounding the ridge where the sniper team was stationed. Radio communications became increasingly strained. Alpha 1 to base. Visibility compromised, requesting alternatives. Static interrupted the transmission. "Alpha 1, repeat," Steele demanded, frustration clear in his voice. Only broken static responded. "Fix the communications," he snapped at Maya, who was already working calmly through protocols. "It's not equipment malfunction," she said quietly. "They're being electronically suppressed." The next transmission confirmed her analysis movement. "Multiple hostiles approaching our..." The line died. Steele grabbed tactical equipment. "I'm going to assess the situation personally. You," he pointed at Maya, "try to restore communications while we're gone." As he and a security team rushed out, Major Cross noticed Maya had vanished from her station, and the weathered case beneath her bunk was open and empty. The mountain trail wound upward through increasingly thick fog. Steele led his 4-man security team with mounting worry. The silence from the sniper team suggested the worst-case scenarios. If insurgents had compromised their observation post, the entire operation was compromised. "Maintain tight formation," Steele ordered as visibility dropped to less than 15 meters. "Cover your sectors." The fog muffled sound, creating an eerie isolation around them as they climbed. Every shadow seemed to conceal potential threats. Steele checked his radio again, still nothing but static. The jamming was military-grade, not the improvised equipment typically used by local insurgents. Specialist Torres, the team's point man, raised a closed fist. Everyone froze. "Movement ahead, sir," he whispered. "Cannot confirm friendly." Steele moved forward cautiously, straining to see through the mist. A figure emerged slowly from the whiteness. Corporal Jackson, the sniper team spotter. "Colonel." Jackson breathed, his voice strained. "They came from nowhere. Multiple hostiles with advanced equipment." Rodriguez took a hit to the leg. "We had to retreat from the ridge." "Where's the rest of your team?" Steele demanded. "Secondary position 200 meters northeast. Martinez is maintaining overwatch while I circled back to establish contact." "Any visual on hostile strength or positions?" "At least 6 that we counted, sir. Possibly more. They have thermal scopes, moving in coordinated formations. Not typical insurgents." Steele processed this rapidly. "Special forces or highly trained mercenaries." The mission parameters had just shifted dramatically. "Let us to your position. We'll consolidate and reassess." As they moved carefully through the fog-shrouded terrain, Steele's mind briefly returned to Maya's warning about the ridge. Had she somehow anticipated this? The thought was interrupted by the crack of a distant rifle shot echoing through the mountains. "Contact," Jackson whispered. "That's Martinez's rifle." The team quickened their pace, maintaining tactical formation despite the urgency. 3 more shots rang out in quick succession. They reached a small outcropping where the remaining sniper team members had established a defensive position. Sergeant Martinez, the team's primary shooter, maintained his position behind his rifle, scanning the slopes below through his scope. "Report," Steele ordered. "Hostiles attempting to flank from the west." "Sir," Martinez responded without taking his eye from the scope. "I've confirmed 3, but movement suggests more." Lieutenant Rodriguez sat propped against a rock, his right leg bandaged with field dressings. "They knew exactly where we were, Colonel. Precision approached through our blind spots." The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. Steele needed better assessment of what they were facing. Moving to a nearby vantage point, he deployed his own tactical scope and began systematically scanning the ridgeline and valley below. The fog shifted unpredictably, offering brief glimpses of clarity before closing in again. During one such break, Steele caught movement on a cliff face that should have been inaccessible, a nearly vertical rock wall that would require specialized climbing equipment and extensive training to navigate. "What the hell?" he muttered, adjusting his scope for better focus. The figure moved with deliberate precision, settling into a shooting position that commanded a perfect view of both the valley and, more disturbingly, the approach Steele's team had just used. If this was an enemy observer, they were already compromised. Through the scope, Steele studied the figure carefully. The positioning was expert, minimal profile exposure, optimal cover utilization. This was a professional operator. As he watched, sunlight briefly broke through the clouds, and something on the figure's hand caught the light as they steadied their rifle. Steele focused the scope, zooming in as much as the optics allowed. It was a ring, a distinctive black metal band with an intricate pattern resembling folded wings around a raven. Steele's breath caught the raven ring. He'd only seen these in highly classified briefings, awarded to operators of a program so covert that most military leaders thought it was just a legend. Shadow Protocol. Soldiers who officially didn't exist, deployed as the ultimate contingency when missions were deemed too high risk for conventional forces. And as the figure shifted position, Steele recognized her face, Maya Chun, the support staff he'd dismissed hours earlier. Before he could process this revelation, 3 precise shots rang out from her position. Through his scope, Steele shifted focus to see 3 armed hostiles drop in quick succession, hostiles that had been flanking his security team's position. Hostiles he hadn't even detected. His radio suddenly cleared. "Colonel." Major Cross's voice came through with unexpected clarity. "She requests that you withdraw immediately. You're exposed at your current position." Instinct overrode confusion. Steele rolled left just as a bullet impacted exactly where he'd been lying, a sniper shot from somewhere across the valley that would have killed him if he hadn't moved. 4 more rapid shots from Maya's position and the opposing sniper threat was eliminated. "Alpha team is secure?" Cross's voice continued. "They're moving to extraction point Bravo. Echo has cleared the immediate threats." Echo, the confirmation of what he'd just witnessed, hit Steele like a physical blow. The woman he'd dismissed as just support staff was a Shadow Protocol operator, one of the military's most elite and secretive assets, and she just saved not only his life, but his entire team. "Understood," Steele managed to respond, still processing the implications. "Moving to Bravo now." He gathered his security team, maintaining professional composure despite the revelation still ricocheting through his mind. They collected the injured Rodriguez and began a strategic withdrawal to the extraction point. Steele couldn't help but look back toward the impossible cliff face where Maya had positioned herself. She was already gone, vanished like smoke. The journey back to base was tense and silent. Twice more, Maya's precise shots cleared hidden threats before Steele's team even detected them. Each time, the only warning was Cross's calm voice over the radio: "Movement on your right flank, Colonel," followed by the distant crack of a rifle and the elimination of a threat. When they finally reached the base perimeter, Steele expected to find Maya waiting. Instead, she was nowhere to be seen. Major Cross met them at the gate, his expression carefully neutral. "Get Rodriguez to medical," Steele ordered as the team passed through the checkpoint, then lowering his voice to address Cross directly. "My office, now." Inside the Stark Command office, Steele closed the door and faced his second-in-command. "Explain." "What exactly would you like me to explain, sir?" Cross's face remained impassive. "Don't play games, Major. You knew exactly who Chen was from the moment she arrived." Cross considered his words carefully. "I had suspicions based on previous experience. Confirmation came when I recognized her ring, the Raven ring." "Yes, sir." "Shadow Protocol operators are myths, Major. Stories to intimidate insurgents and inspire young recruits. They don't actually exist. With respect, Colonel, that's exactly what they want most of the military to believe." Steele sank into his chair, the weight of the day's revelation settling over him. "Why is she here? Our operation is important, but hardly warrants deploying a ghost. Shadow Protocol works differently from standard deployments," Cross explained. "They don't respond to normal chain of command. Their assignments are determined by risk assessment algorithms and threat matrices most of us never see. And she just happens to be assigned to a routine border surveillance operation. There's nothing routine about this operation, sir. Our intelligence suggests a Tier 1 target will move through this sector, possibly with chemical weapons. The failure risk was clearly high enough to warrant contingency measures. Steele looked up sharply. Chemical weapons. That wasn't in my briefing. Need to know, sir. Apparently you didn't. The implication stung, but Steele pushed past it. Where is she now? Debriefing with her handler via secure channel. I imagine she'll maintain her cover until the mission is complete or her presence is no longer required. Her cover. Steele repeated, the words bitter in his mouth as he remembered his dismissive treatment. It's designed that way, Colonel. Support staff are invisible. Perfect camouflage for someone who needs to observe without being noticed. The door opened without a knock, and Maya entered. The transformation was subtle but unmistakable. Her posture had changed, her eyes sharper, movements more fluid and economical. She wore the same unremarkable clothes, but somehow they no longer concealed her capabilities. Colonel, she acknowledged with a slight nod. Major. Steele stood, unsure of the proper protocol when addressing someone who technically didn't exist. A faint smile touched her lips. Just Maya is fine, Colonel. My rank isn't relevant to this operation. I owe you an apology. Steele began, uncomfortable with the admission but unwilling to avoid it. No, you don't, she countered. My cover worked exactly as intended. If you treated me differently, it might have compromised the mission. You tried to warn us about the ridge. I did, but your dismissal actually provided useful intelligence. The insurgents had surveillance equipment on that ridge. They knew exactly where to expect you because they monitored your briefing. Steele absorbed this with a grimace. The base is compromised. Was compromised? Maya corrected. I located and neutralized the surveillance equipment while you were out with the security team. Who are you really? She considered him for a moment. Officially, I'm exactly who my file says I am. Logistics and communications support. And unofficially, I don't exist, Colonel. That's the point of Shadow Protocol. Major Cross cleared his throat. Sir, we should prepare for debriefing with the Alpha team. Steele nodded reluctantly, setting aside his questions. Of course, conference room in 20 minutes. As Maya turned to leave, Steele noticed the raven ring still visible on her finger. She followed his gaze and paused. Why wear it at all, he asked, if secrecy is so paramount? Sometimes being seen by the right people at the right moment serves a purpose, she answered. Today it let you know that your team wasn't alone out there. The debriefing was surreal. The sniper team recounted their experience, the ambush, the precision counter, sniper shots from an unknown operator who had eliminated 6 hostiles with surgical accuracy. All while Maya sat quietly in the corner, ostensibly taking notes, her involvement known only to Steele and Cross. Whoever it was had angles and positioning that shouldn't have been possible. Sergeant Martinez explained with professional admiration. Those shots came from the eastern cliff face. There's no way up there without specialized equipment and exceptional training. After dismissing the others, Steele faced Maya alone. Major Cross remained, standing by the door. How many operations? Steele asked quietly. 42, she answered without hesitation. This makes 43. Steele leaned back, a mixture of respect and unease crossing his features. Why are you really here? This can't just be about one high-value target. I'm not here for recognition, Colonel, Maya said. I'm here because someone calculated this mission had a 47% chance of failure. I'm the contingency. Shadow Protocol operators are positioned throughout critical military operations, Cross explained. They're placed in seemingly mundane roles, always watching, always ready. Most commanders never know they're there unless something goes catastrophically wrong. Like today, Maya added. Night fell over the base and operations continued with heightened security. Intelligence updates streamed in indicating the high-value target had changed routes, likely warned by surviving insurgents that their original path had been compromised. Maya worked alongside intelligence officers, her expertise no longer hidden but still not explicitly acknowledged. In a rare moment of quiet, Steele found her studying satellite imagery alone in the communications center. The mission's changing, he observed. Missions always change, she replied without looking up. Adaptation is the difference between success and failure. Like adapting to a colonel who dismisses your tactical advice. That earned a brief smile. Precisely. What would you have done if I hadn't spotted you on that cliff? If I hadn't seen the ring? She finally looked up from the imagery. My job, Colonel. Whether you knew I was there or not, that doesn't bother you. Operating in the shadows, never receiving credit. Recognition isn't why I do this, Maya said simply. Shadow Protocol exists because sometimes the regular military structure is too visible, too restricted by rules of engagement, too predictable. And you're not. I'm whatever the mission requires me to be. She returned her attention to the satellite imagery, including invisible support staff. Steele studied her for a moment longer. The next briefing is at Zoo 600s. I'd value your input on the tactical approach, if you're willing to provide it more officially this time. Of course, Colonel. There was the faintest hint of amusement in her voice. I'll try to phrase my suggestions in a way that doesn't sound like they're coming from just support staff. Dawn broke over forward operating base Phoenix with streaks of amber and crimson painting the mountain peaks. The morning briefing proceeded with a noticeably different dynamic. Maya stood near the tactical display rather than in her usual corner position, and Steele openly deferred to her assessment of the intelligence updates. Our target has diverted to this southern route, she indicated on the map. Satellite imagery confirms a convoy of 2 vehicles moving through this valley by approximately 1500 hours today. Recommendations for interception? Steele asked. Direct action, Maya replied. We'll have confirmation of chemical weapons being transported. The risk of them reaching their destination outweighs the risks of engagement. I suggest coordinated strikes from these 3 positions with helicopter support. Sergeant Martinez studied the proposed positions. The northern approach offers better concealment, but the shot distance is extreme. I can make it, Maya said simply. No one questioned her assertion despite the technical marksmanship skills required. Martinez and Jackson take the eastern position, Steele decided. Shen takes north, Cross and I coordinate helicopter support. The room remained silent, a new respect evident in how the operators regarded Maya. Execute in 2 hours, Steele ordered. As the team dispersed to prepare, Major Cross approached Steele. Sir, secure communication from command. Eyes only. In his office, Steele reviewed the encrypted message with growing concern. The intelligence was more serious than initially indicated. Their high-value target wasn't just transporting chemical weapons. He was meeting with representatives from hostile nations to sell them. When he emerged, Maya was waiting outside his door. The situation's escalated, she said, not a question but a statement. How did you know? Your expression. Plus, I received my own update through shadow channels. We're no longer just intercepting. We're preventing an international incident. Exactly. We're not equipped for an operation of this scale, Steele argued. You're not, Maya agreed, but reinforcements are already en route. The operation proceeded with precision that bordered on the surreal. Maya established her position on the northern ridge using minimal equipment, commanding the entire approach route. Martinez and Jackson confirmed position on the eastern slope. Additional support helicopters appeared on schedule, their crews seamlessly integrating into the tactical network. Steele monitored from the command center, watching through drone footage as the convoy approached the predetermined engagement point. He heard Maya's calm voice over the comm. I have visual confirmation. Target is in the rear vehicle, 4 security personnel heavily armed. Alpha team confirms, Martinez added. We count 8 armed personnel total plus drivers. Colonel, we're prepared to proceed, Maya addressed him directly. Your authorization. Despite Shadow Protocol's apparent autonomy, she was still respecting his command authority. The gesture wasn't lost on Steele. Execute, he ordered. What followed was a masterclass in coordinated precision. Maya's shot disabled the lead vehicle's engine while Martinez eliminated the primary security threat. The helicopters moved in for extraction before the targets could organize effective resistance. The entire operation took less than 60 seconds. Convoy secured, Maya reported calmly. HV contained materials intact, requesting extraction team for prisoners and evidence collection. Already inbound, Steele confirmed. 10 minutes. As the extraction team secured the site and transported the captured materials and personnel, Steele found himself standing alone with Major Cross watching the activity from the base perimeter. Have you ever seen anything like that? Steele asked quietly. Once before, Cross admitted. In Fallujah. That's why I recognized the ring. Who are these people really? The best of the best who chose to disappear instead of becoming legends, Cross said. Least that's what I've pieced together. They don't exactly publish their recruitment criteria. The debriefing room at Forward Operating Base Phoenix hummed with activity as senior officers from Regional Command arrived to take custody of the captured materials and intelligence. Maya sat quietly to the side as Steele delivered his official report, omitting specific details about Shadow Protocol's involvement at her prior request. The operation was successful due to exceptional intelligence and the skill of our reconnaissance teams, he concluded diplomatically. When the room had cleared of visiting personnel, Steele finally had a moment alone with Maya. Your transport arrives in an hour, he noted, checking the schedule. My assignment here is complete. Where will you go next? That's classified, she replied with the faintest smile. Even from you? Back to being invisible support staff somewhere else. That's the job. Steele nodded, understanding now in a way he hadn't before. Thank you. Not just for saving my team, but for what you do. What all of you do. Most of us don't do it for thanks, Colonel. But I appreciate the sentiment. The Raven Ring? Steele said, gesturing to her hand where the distinctive black band caught the light. What does it really mean? Maya looked down at it thoughtfully. Different things to different operators. For some, it's a reminder of what we've sacrificed by disappearing from official records. For others, it's a connection to the few who truly understand what we do. And for you? For me, it's a reminder that sometimes the most important work happens in the shadows, she said, and that recognition isn't the same as value. Dawn painted the mountains in gold as Maya prepared to depart the base. Her bag was packed, the same unremarkable duffel she'd arrived with, nothing to indicate the exceptional operator beneath the unassuming exterior. Steele found her at the base perimeter, watching the sunrise. Your transport's ready, he said. She nodded but didn't move immediately. It was an honor working with you, Colonel. Once you stopped dismissing my tactical suggestions. The honor was mine, he replied with genuine respect, though I wish I'd recognized what I was dealing with sooner. No, she shook her head. You weren't supposed to recognize it at all. That's the point. Steele straightened and offered a formal military salute, a gesture of profound respect rarely given to those without visible rank. Maya returned it with precise military bearing that she'd kept carefully hidden during her weeks as support staff. "Where will you go?" he asked as he lowered his hand. "Back to being invisible," she responded simply. "That's the job." As she walked toward the waiting transport vehicle, Steele noticed a helicopter arriving with new personnel, replacements, and rotations for the base. Among them was an unassuming figure carrying themselves with that same deliberate anonymity he now recognized. "Major," Steele addressed Cross without taking his eyes off the newcomers. "Ensure all personnel are treated with equal respect, regardless of their designated role. We never know who's really watching over us." "Yes, sir," Cross replied with knowing acknowledgement. Steele approached the helicopter, greeting each new arrival with careful attention. When he reached the unassuming figure, their eyes met briefly. Nothing was said, but Steele noticed the subtle weight to the person's duffel bag, the calusas on their trigger finger, the alertness in their gaze that scanned continuously despite their relaxed posture. He offered his hand. "Welcome to Phoenix. I look forward to working with you, whatever your role may be." A flicker of surprise crossed the person's face before being carefully controlled. "Thank you, Colonel. I'm just support staff. There's no such thing as just anything on my base," Steele replied. "Everyone here serves a purpose." As he walked away, Steele glanced back once to see Maya's transport disappearing down the mountain road. Another anonymous journey for a woman whose greatest victories would never be recorded. But he would remember, and next time, he would look more carefully at those quiet figures on the periphery, the ones who never asked for recognition but deserved it more than anyone. The mountains stood silent around the base, their peaks disappearing into the clouds. Somewhere beyond those peaks, Maya would become someone else, slip into another role, watch from another shadow. And somewhere else, another commander might be about to make the same mistake Steele had, dismissing someone as just support staff without realizing they were in the presence of a guardian angel.